Okay.
We're gonna call this meeting to order at 6:38 PM. It's the Arts and Culture Commission regular meeting.
Chair Ransom,
Here.
Vice Chair Villa,
Here.
Commissioner McCormick,
Here.
Commissioner Moreno, Commissioner Porter, Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Zamora. We're formed.
Okay. We'll move on to the secretary's report.
Yes, so the agenda for this meeting was posted on Saturday, May 10th at 11:25 a.m.
Okay. Next is approval of the agenda. And I'm going to motion that we move up the new business presentation 7.1 before old business item number 6.
I seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
All right,
Okay, public comment?
we have no speakers this time.
Perfect. Okay, then we will move on to new business and the presentation of the preferred option for the Civic Center Master Plan update.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Ryan Osington. I'm the project manager here within the Public Works and Engineering Division. Thank you for having me today. I'm here today to invite you all to our third community workshop meeting scheduled for next Tuesday, May 20th. We have two presentations. The first one will start at 9 a.m. in Wheeler Center. The second one will be at 6 p.m. in Wheeler Center. You don't have to attend both. They are the exact same presentation. So if you're available for either, we'd love to have you. At this community workshop meeting, our partner, ELS, who has been working to design the master plan, will be unveiling the preferred concept, and they'll have boards like what I've passed around, but they're also going to have 3D renderings where we can actually fly through the spaces, get a little bit better visual of what the footprint of those spaces will look like. The current footprint and what we've been designing towards will include a couple of new buildings and a couple of remodels of existing or replacement of existing buildings. So we can start up in the upper right-hand corner. That's at the corner of 6th Street and Church Street, where current Wheeler Center exists. We want to put there a new multi-generational facility with an aquatic center. So within this multi-generational facility, we would include a full gymnasium, which would be 3 basketball courts, locker room, men's, women's, and gender neutral locker rooms, weight and exercise room, a couple of multi-purpose rooms, and our parks and recreation office space. We would also be adding in an aquatic center. We haven't fully figured out what the scope of that aquatic center would be. Our current target is similar to what just went into Mountain View, which is not an Olympic sized pool. It's a little bit smaller than that, but it's still a lap pool, a swim pool, and then a splash pad / kid size pool area. So something up to about 5 feet in depth with play structures within it as well. And that space would share the locker room on the first floor. So you would have a multi-use locker room on the first floor to be shared between the gymnasium and the aquatic center. And then on the second floor, where the weight center would be, we would have additional locker room facilities. That way you could support the offices up there. We would also be bringing a new community center, which is going to be located at the corner of 7th Street and Church Street. This would have a performing arts theater with a 200-seat capacity. It would house the new senior center, a youth center, a teen center. We'd have several multi-purpose spaces within this facility, and we'd also have a dedicated half gymnasium inside that space, strictly for senior youth center, teen space youth as well. This would also include a full kitchen and dining space. The current iterations, the ones that I've seen most recently, have that as an indoor-outdoor multifunctional space. So it opens up the possibilities for events outside of just senior lunches or senior dinners, things along those lines. The other buildings that we would be doing
Is that where the little circles are right now? Is that kind of like the?
Yeah, so this isn't the most recent rendering. It's the most recent one that I have a copy of.
Got it.
It matches the general footprint, but there have been some shifts made to the building structures. For example, City Hall, this little L at the corner shows where the new council chambers would go.
Ooh.
But in the most recent iteration, that's been bumped to the opposite side, so it kind of matches the library flow, kind of opens everything up to the park. And then the biggest change really is adding in this parking strip beneath City Hall from the second public meeting that we had. The biggest amount of feedback we had was that there was not enough parking close enough to those areas.
Mhm.
So for us, this parking along with the parking that's at the corner of Seventh and Rosanna would meet that need and create enough parking for daily use for the community center that's within a reasonable short walking distance. So the city hall would be torn down and rebuilt within its current footprint. All the buildings you see on here as well are two-story buildings. So
Mhm.
everything would match the height and the design of the library and the police center. And then the biggest add-on is the new Gilroy Civic Park with a outdoor seated amphitheater space that would be basically where the annex building currently is.
Where, which one?
The annex building, the
Oh,
old
okay.
police
Yeah,
station
yeah.
that's next to Wheeler and the parking lot.
And that would also, they just take out what they just put in the.
No, those would all be
Structure.
repurposed. We would get rid of the
It would just get
columns.
moved,
Yeah.
yeah.
But all of the
Is it-
solar
oh,
panels
yeah,
would be
okay.
repurposed within the roofs of all of the new buildings.
Oh, nice.
And we'd actually be purchasing additional solar panels
yeah,
as part
I'm
of the
sure.
construction process.
Uh,
Because part of the goal would be to have all of our buildings as at
Run
least at
solar.
minimum
Yeah.
LEED certified. Preferably a little bit higher.
Yeah. Is the parking also, is that gonna go to 2 stories or that's not gonna go?
So the current plan has it as just a surface lot. We meet the stall requirements for the buildings and what the occupancy would be for all of the buildings. But these two driveways do have the ability to have a garage built onto them. So that would be a 3-story parking garage. With the way the slopes and angles work of it, it would be 3 levels of parking, but it would meet a 2-story height. So it would still fit the aesthetic of the rest of the buildings. And it could add up to 90 spaces per level. So we could add up to 270
That'd
parking
be
stalls
amazing.
along that area.
A lot of traffic.
I mean,
you need
that seems,
parking.
that seems necessary, especially on a day we have something at the
Every
amphitheater.
single one of those places.
That's true. It's like
Yeah.
whenever there's a big one, you know?
Well, because you also don't want the neighborhoods to get impacted with people parking on their street and blocking
Right.
their driveways.
So the current
Uh,
current parking plan would be, we would expand Seventh Street. So we
Mhm.
would bump the sidewalk in a little bit and create street parking
Mhm.
along this side. Excuse me, and then the added parking behind City Hall, basically right where we are right now,
Mhm.
would create a good amount of space for the community center during the day. The good news is these spaces aren't long-term hangout spots. Like people aren't coming and staying for 4 to 6 hours where the stall is taken up all day. There's a turnover
They
there
might
where
be.
maybe it's so much fun that everyone just wants to be here all day. And if that's the case, then we will be building a parking structure. But the current plan has it just as a surface lot.
okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really wanted to come and just spread the word about our community meeting next Tuesday. ELS will be on site. They're gonna go very in depth with the presentation. I kind of just did a pretty quick
Will the
surface
aquatics
level
people be there
review.
this time?
I'm sorry.
Will the aquatics people be there this time? The pool people? I call the pool people the Olympic, the ones that were promoting introducing the pool and the aquatics. Will they be there or just the other people?
It will just be
Oh,
ELS.
yeah, got it.
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, I think it's one of some of the members of ELS.
Yeah, no, yeah, because I've been to the,
Specialize in
yeah.
aquatics, like,
Well, one of their members is a former Olympic swimmer.
Yeah, that's what she was,
Yeah.
that's what I meant, 3-time Olympic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know each other, but will she be there?
I don't.
Okay,
know.
yeah, no.
I'm assuming
Yeah, I hope
probably,
so. Yeah, I had something, yeah.
probably.
Good, good.
But yeah, they've been a big proponent of that. They've
You
seen.
bet, you bet.
They've seen
Right
a
way, the
lot
right
of
way.
positive impacts on
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that. So, but I'm here. So are there any other questions or things you guys want to know about the project or the layouts? or
I think from
Yeah.
our standpoint, Arts and Culture Commission, we were
Mhm.
wondering if there's gonna be any room for public art within the space
Oh, yeah.
or any talks of that, and
We've
maybe
had
just-
discussions because, so the exterior wall around the library where the outdoor play space is,
Yeah.
has that mural.
yeah,
We would be mirroring that somewhere within the footprint of the new campus.
okay,
There is a desire for that.
or like sculptures or anything.
We just haven't locked any
Yeah.
of those levels of
Okay.
detail yet, because as of 3 weeks ago, we were still worrying about building placement. So like,
Yeah.
you can't finalize where your art goes when you don't know where your
Mhm.
buildings are going. So,
Or
for us,
artistic components, like we have talked about that before, like even just a general, you know, your basic light post or basic bench or
Yep.
when you put sidewalks in, if there's an artistic way of doing it or a element to
Paver or
those,
something.
yeah, like an
doing
artistic
floating
version.
pavers versus just, yeah.
Something where like, you know, in Morgan Hill, they have the benches that has, like, one of them has an apple on it or something, and it's like a little sculpture that's on the actual bench, or they have just artistic elements throughout
Yeah.
your regular components of, you know,
Yeah.
when they were doing their building design and things like that, so.
Yeah. We haven't gotten to that level of
No.
Yeah,
detail
no.
yet.
But I know it
It's
hasn't
coming.
happened
This is
early,
the
so that's
foundation.
why we
This
want to
is the
bring it up.
foundation.
So we're still working on kind of figuring out what the final building placement would be.
Yeah.
We feel this is our strongest plan to the date, and we've designed probably 7 or 8 plans to this point. And this is the one that all of us feel the most conviction
Mhm.
about. I really think it checks all the boxes that we're looking for, and provides the biggest impact to our community. So,
This feels like a pretty decent update too from the last one that I saw at the second session. Cause it was like, I think we had City Hall on this corner and we had the rec center over here.
yep. So
And it
within
seemed-
our, between the first and second meetings.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase. At the very first, second meeting we had,
Yeah.
we received new direction on where some of the buildings could be laid out or repurposed.
Mm.
And that kind of changed our thought process and opened up more opportunities for us, which is how we ended up with City Hall staying in the same location, being reoriented and adding parking into this location. So for us, that was kind of a game changer and really changed what those 3 options that were presented at the second community workshop ended up
Mhm.
being. So
Oh, I think I remember it was from the mayor. Right?
Yeah.
He had said, okay, yeah. The I guess for parking, is there like at this point, I mean, depending on how much the total budget ends up being, I don't assume that adding the parking lot would be like, or adding the multi-layer parking would be like
the structure.
the structure would be like the what do you call it? Like the straw that broke the camel's back type of thing, right? So I just assume, like, why not go for that structure up front versus later on be like, oh no, we got to raise more money again for another structure. If it's already going to be, I don't know how many millions of dollars for
And there's the ability to do it, to plan for the future.
you know,
Right,
it just,
which is kind of why we're keeping that flexibility in there. We are not focused right now on gathering all of the funds at this moment and having this approved ASAP. We are trying to develop the best plan possible
Mhm.
that works for us over the next 50 to 75 years. That's our goal. That's where our focus is right now.
Mhm.
Let's make this the best plan possible. And then we can figure out, okay, what does a bond capacity look like? What is phase 1 of that? Is there 1 phase? Are there 2 phases?
Mhm.
How does it work out? Like, those are the things those are the hurdles we have to clear eventually. But right now, our focus is on developing this into the best plan for the city and our community. So, I like the idea of the parking structure, but we want to keep flexibility there because not everybody likes parking structures, you know? So, and there's also egress issues that come with
Yeah.
a parking structure that would impact what the layout looks like. So
Mhm.
those are things that we have to consider while we're still in the design phase. The good news is design phase means things change all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever come across a major construction project where your design proposal is built exactly the same once it actually comes to fruition. So,
Got it.
yeah, working at a multi-million-dollar square foot stadium, the drawings don't always match what's actually in front of you.
True. True.
This is irrelevant, but I remember the first meeting, I had, the gentleman who's the ELS guy, I said, look at this Wheeler Auditorium out, it's solidity because it was a bomb shelter.
Right.
So we could take it down in a day or 2.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what you said. No, and it was fun because he said they took down Candlestick Park,
Yep.
and I'm, fun,
That's fun.
Yep, the only thing they left at Candlestick was one escalator.
Yeah, yeah.
What, did they leave an escalator? I mean, was sort of a.
When they did
They
the,
did
Got
that
it,
initial
got
thing.
they did the demo
Yeah,
and
that's-
the, in
Got it.
that portion, cause they did it section by section.
Yeah, yeah. I
In
did
that portion, the way it fell, the escalator was the last thing standing.
Oh,
So they
wow.
had demolished everything except
Yeah.
one escalator.
No, he said
Wow.
take a day or
That's
two,
so-
boom, we got down.
Yeah.
I said, wow.
It goes down quick. And yeah, we did evaluate Wheeler and the
I know,
potentials
I
of
know,
trying to
I
keep
know,
it and
I know,
repurpose it, and the costs just far exceeded
Yeah.
the demolition and
To
the
bring it
build.
up to what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's that-
unfortunately. But
I
so
know.
that's kind of it. Are there any other questions, comments,
Thank you.
concerns?
Around the amphitheater,
Mhm.
I guess I'll see it tomorrow or Tuesday because I'll go. But like the infrastructure for like lighting and backstage and all that kind of stuff, like because it's not there's no like proper back to it. Will there still be a structure that provides like coverage
Not
for
really
like
sure.
performers
The
and stuff like that?
last, I got to see a preview of the renderings about a week and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
And then I went out of country, so I haven't seen any updates to it since.
Got it.
And when I saw that, it was only about 80% done and they didn't show anything in that area.
Okay.
So they had a green space and about half the trees dropped in.
Got it.
So I can't fully
Okay.
answer that. But my understanding is it's gonna be more of like just a tiered system.
Got it.
I don't think it's gonna have a big closed off backspace.
Mhm.
Cause I think the Paseo is gonna come into that top level on grade
Okay,
and then it will lower for the
Got it.
next two grades.
got it. Okay.
Okay, so just, so the audience be facing to the east and not the west.
Yes, no, the audience would be facing the west. The
So
audience
this
would be
is
facing
west.
towards
Okay.
Dowdy Street.
There's west.
So in
That's
that,
west.
in that case, which, so is there contemplation for like afternoon, evening shows with sun's in the eyes of the
Exactly,
audience?
there's west.
Again, we haven't gotten to that full level of detail of
Yeah,
it.
there's something.
But in my experience, with open areas like this, it is very easy to bring in portable staging that blocks most of that. So you can bring in a portable stage that opens up the front, plant it right where the concrete extends out into the amphitheater portion. And that would create some of that backdrop blockage with a lowered system, like a lowered seating area. So you would get the blocked off background without having to sacrifice that during the day.
Interesting.
So there are ways to work around it if you're doing outdoor public concerts.
Nice.
I feel fortunate to get this update. Because when you get to the meetings, then now you really get to, thank you.
Yeah, so this,
Thank you.
again, like I said, this isn't the final
Yeah,
plan.
but
There will be
still, thank you.
changes
That's
to
it,
it, but
yeah.
this is pretty
But you
close
said
to
this is
what
they
you'll see.
cut pretty bad.
Do
Now
you
that
know what the time frame like is? I mean, now it's like,
I might be retired by the time. I'm done. So, yeah, I mean,
I know it's like,
so Redwood City went through this
biggest goal.
recently. They passed their master plan. And their first building from that master plan approval it's about 85% done through construction. And when that one finishes, they'll be about 10 years in.
oh,
So
okay.
it takes a long time. It
Yeah.
takes a while because, I'm fully planning for our design phase. We're gonna finish this and we go to council in June-ish for approval, quote unquote, to begin the sequel process. And we won't be presenting the formal plan for adoption until summer of 2026.
Hmm,
So if that gets approved and we are on the November 2026 ballot with a bond measure,
mhm.
and if that gets approved, then we start the selection process for construction,
Construction, yeah.
which that can
Can
take
take,
anywhere from 2 to 3, 4 years, depending on what all goes into that package.
Mhm.
And, if that's one building, then you're 3, 4 years later before you can break ground. So it's a long process. This is not something that will be done by 2030
yeah,
with all new buildings.
yes,
It's a 10 to 20 year.
Yeah.
With full support and approvals and everything.
With it going smoothly.
But they're going smoothly. Yeah.
And if there's one thing you can count on, it's government being efficient and working smoothly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, always. Okay, thank you.
It's still exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Well, that's how this got here.
Yeah.
I remember my parents, we're talking about the sixties, or in these council meetings. You
Yeah.
know, this is how this all got here. Don't
Yeah.
kid yourself. And here we are, we get the benefit of it. Now we're in another phase of life, even though you're young.
Some of the stuff we've been saying is, most of us that are working on this aren't gonna be the ones that reap. the benefits.
Exactly.
It's the next
Exactly.
generation.
Exactly.
It's the
That's
kids
right.
that are in elementary
Yeah,
school now
exactly.
will be the ones using this
Space.
facility, right?
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
Well, thank you very much.
Of course, thank you guys for having me. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know. Otherwise, I'll see all of you on Tuesday. hopefully.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
That's nice.
Yeah, no, it's great to get the things that come out. Where it works.
Okay, so our next item is old business, 6.1, the fiscal year 2026-2027 work plan.
Yes, so this is again the standing item for the different committees to report back on the activities that are associated with the work plan. And I did get a update from Commissioner Zamora, an email. Let's see here, if I can summarize, I haven't had a chance to really read it. Yes, it'll be better if I just email this to the commission. It's pretty detailed, but it's not in a report kind of format.
That's fine.
So I'll send it out there, but she has several different possible venues, possible dance artists to include in the multicultural days. And so I'll send that out to the commission.
Okay, then we'll start from the top. So for the Love of Gilroy event,
Yes.
um,
Getting to it now. So, yeah, I think, what we can do from our end is, or specifically from mine, is to prepare all the marketing materials. But obviously we can't launch until we know we've addressed whatever submission kind of kinks we were trying to work through last year, or like, are we keeping the same? I guess for me, what we'd need to know kind of like, are we keeping the same? What kind of submission process are we keeping? Or are we developing this year? Like, is it still going to be online submission and in person and whatnot? And I guess it's more of a, from our side, is to create
the
like a
timeline.
desired timeline,
Mhm.
right? And then also while we're doing that is just you know, the submission process on your end to know like what's gonna work best this year. Like, are we keeping everything the same, or are we gonna do? I didn't think so.
No, I forgot the last one. So as far as the submission, the thought that we had at the last round. We decided that we would still take the in-person paper submission. But then online, instead of having the email system that would capture our cybersecurity protection software, we'd actually have a third-party site.
Yeah,
So we haven't selected that one yet. But really, that one we can move pretty quickly because they're usually just simple subscription sites.
Yeah.
So knowing the time frame, we can start either looking at a couple of different options that come up with that.
so I know, there are a few things we have to keep in mind. Last year, we were under some different kind of time frame, to have the event and all those things by a certain date. So we were just talking about banners going up, and now we need like a calendar for all these banners that are going up on the light posts and the request for them. We know that November is veterans. We know that then December starts holiday, which carries into the new year timeframe. So if we're trying to do something, it would have to be
September.
it would have to be that early, or we push it to February and we do For the Love of Gilroy during Valentine's timeframe. And that can be like our annual time where there's nothing really going on
Just focus.
and you get to keep them up all the way, like a lot longer. Yeah. So that would be them being up for the longest amount of time for the best exposure for the artists,
Mm,
in my opinion.
That's cool.
September would be challenging at this
Yeah.
point, so we barely kind of. met
Made
the
it.
October timeframe.
With
This point, we
having,
already had materials already out
yeah,
and stuff, so I would.
I think if we give people a longer time frame to submit. Giving them the summer to be creative and then we use, the beginning of the school year to maybe do. Something with the Gary Unified School District or the other schools too, where we can maybe make a presentation or something
Encourage.
like that in the Arts Alive program or whatever programs are during school. It could be, that could become like one of their projects.
so if we
We
were
can-
thinking, what's launching, what would be a tentative, like, unveiling event, like sometime in,
I think February of 2026.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's.
And for the Love of Gilroy during like
Yeah,
the
it's
month
cool.
of February and.
It's really focused time.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it could be like a really fun
Awesome.
thing to have, there's hearts up in downtown and there's all
Love it.
kinds
Gilroy,
of
you-
cool
oh,
things.
Gilroy.
Yeah, it
It's
just
a
seems
neat-
very
it's a neat-
fitting.
I like
So
it.
that we would,
And my biggest thing is the artists want to see their work up at, for as long as they can. If we
Mm.
do it anytime before November, they are down by November 1st,
that's true, yeah.
for sure.
Mm.
And,
coming quickly.
and there is a project that, I don't want to say it on here, I guess I should, I'll wait, I'll tell you offline. The other
The-
project that it was thinking of using light posts,
Oh.
but it hasn't been announced yet, so I'll wait and say that. Privately,
So
but,
then-
I think that that's a great time frame.
So then if we work backwards from that, what is
Mhm.
that, what does that look like? Like closing submissions?
In September,
So the production,
October,
Yeah,
for submissions?
yeah.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, to produce the banners, the company.
like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, you guys got
there,
it down.
so If
Yeah.
you figure scheduling, probably mid-January, when we wanna send the order
Mhm.
in. just to give a
Or
little
January
cushion.
1st.
Early the
Yeah.
better,
Early
earlier the
January.
better.
So
So
the
we get
holidays
that
get. Diced around December, we usually, this commission usually goes dark in December,
Right.
actually, we did. Schedule that in the one, so we're looking at decisions on the banners in November.
November meeting.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So the question then becomes, how long do you want
It to be open.
to be open at that point, because November, say October?
We would want submissions by probably November 1st or October 31st, November 1st to be submitted.
Mhm.
And then our meeting is 2 weeks after.
Mhm.
So that's
However
when-
much time will it take you, because last time I don't know, was a little bit to organize everything and prep the packet and do the numbers and.
Yeah, fortunately, we are having a template for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay,
We
okay.
have the budget for,
Yeah.
so we gain advantage on that one. The only thing that's new for us is going to this new submission portal. But that should be fairly straightforward and simple. I'll probably take about a week.
So what about, I mean, do you think the time frame of,
End of October.
yeah, or even like October 15th, if you think
Yeah,
that you
that-
need to
that
give them
might be
and
a-
do like a
That's fine.
July 15th to October, that's like a long time to.
Like
submit.
our,
Yeah, 'cause they get
our
back to
meeting,
school
our
too.
October, by our October meeting.
Yeah, because then
Could
they
we-
get back to school and they can get busy with the Tuesday.
We could do it, yeah,
Could
October
we-
1st.
Yeah.
Submission,
Pretty cute.
I know, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
I
I
know,
I
I
think
know, gives us
because when
time.
we meet,
I know.
if we
Yeah.
decide in October, then we have time to notify artists and get that whole process going
So the
before.
contract.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if we aren't meeting in December, we would have to have a special meeting to
Yeah.
determine some things.
Cause the last time we made the determination, a special meeting, I think it was at the end of June, early July.
Yeah,
Mhm.
For the October
yeah,
production. So that's what, 3 months, 4 months?
so, but we would want to give people, how long do you think, 3 months to? do
What?
it? Time
Yeah,
frame?
that seems fine.
Window. July 1st through October 1st to come up with the design, gives people the summertime, it gives people the beginning of
fall.
the school year,
Fall.
yeah.
Yeah.
Final putting there, somewhere, putting like the band would be going up in February.
Yes,
Because
So
I
they
get to see, like,
understand.
October submission, when people are like, oh yeah, Halloween, you
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
that's my initial.
yeah,
So we're saying.
February 2026, and we'll come up with a date for the event, but I think that's a perfect time frame.
But so we're saying July to October, what's
Mhm.
the, okay. July to October is submissions. We're closing submissions in October, and then we are meeting that October meeting to look over them, and then make the decision,
Mhm.
and then we're announcing in November
Well,
publicly.
It's,
Or-
remember, it has
No, we
to
have to
go
go
back
through
to
a
council.
contract, yeah.
Right,
To authorize it because they're the ones actually award the contract to the purchase of the rights to design, so. Do the selection,
So we'll look back at our time frame, our timeline
Last
and
year's.
using these
Yeah.
dates now,
Yeah.
Ruben and I can look back at all of
Yeah.
that info and then we'll just start plugging
Plug
in
it, yep.
and see how it coordinates. We'll give it to you as a first draft for the
Cool.
program.
perfect.
I think that gives us enough time for materials, launching, the whole thing to happen in the next 2 months, or month and a half.
So if we're announcing, if submissions will be July to October,
Mhm.
then, and so like June, we wanna
June.
we wanna have that, start announcing it,
Neat.
or just have it in June, in June for,
Feeling charged.
Obviously February,
We get to-
Valentine's Day, Saturday, the 14th.
Yeah.
The Friday the 13th before that.
nice, let's do that, that'd be
We're doing
perfect.
that on that day.
Yeah, that's fun.
I like that. I like that. Then we can have people tattooing the design on their, that'd be fun. Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
so.
I
I
feel
think
better.
That's your update
Yep,
and
that's great.
everyone kind of helped with that. So it's
Good,
good.
update
Okay.
and planning session.
Last year, I mean, now you
Yeah.
bring in that,
So then we move on to multicultural community days, which I think,
For that email.
yeah, so we'll read
Yeah.
through that and, that's something that the three of us can discuss and we should start going over. I have some ideas of some of those things, are for the multicultural days. And we're seeing a lot more diverse businesses coming to downtown, so it's kind of cool because they're drawing different cultural communities too. Like there's an Indian restaurant that just opened on the corner of Fourth and Eagleberry, where Cafe 152 is. And so it's like really big deal for the
Nice.
Indian community. A lot of people are going and supporting. So I think that could also, with the close proximity of where we were talking about having multicultural days downtown, it could be a great thing to welcome some of these. And Italian restaurants going into, and a Portuguese.
Portuguese.
There's just a lot of things happening with downtown becoming a little bit more.
or California,
Yeah.
it is California.
Yeah, so I think things could tie in on when we were talking about locations for that kind of stuff, using the
Yeah.
park that's downtown and then people
It's
can walk
accessible.
around and,
Accessible.
yeah, so it could be really fun, but.
I mean, the Center for the Arts, I'm sure would be down to.
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
did, same, yeah.
Mhm.
The fundraising, gala was kind of what we were.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with it. I mean, not because.
Me either, except that
yeah.
I did talk about a potential venue,
No, yeah,
but.
that was.
I have one too, possibly, so.
Yeah, and it depends on how many people, but I think it's city related, so I wanted to ask you about it,
Where's the
the
venue.
Red Barn. Which I think you can only have like 49 people in or something.
Yeah, it's not a
at the
big,
moment.
yeah, that's
Where
interesting.
people, there's a lot
Inside.
of-
So
a
many
lot
people
of
want to use
stuff
that.
About the Red Barn.
Right.
Yeah,
Structurally,
Right.
so we need to,
Ask
we've
Gary,
already talked about that.
Yeah.
Talk
Gary and
to
everybody,
community
yeah.
development and building official, to
Right.
kind of go over
right,
what's possible, because
Yeah.
utilizing maybe the outside is just kind of a cool venue for
yeah.
something.
I think they're trying to get, as it evolves, trying to get up to that potential, the
Yeah.
possibility.
But even
much
for a
bigger
small,
possibility.
yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
would say like
Yeah.
for fundraising,
Yeah.
it could be a smaller intimate group. But yeah, so that was one of the places
Yeah,
like
that's
that
neat.
would be kind of cool.
I have one
We may wanna
possibility.
have we may want to schedule a separate meeting, maybe you and I, or whoever. wants to
About-
kinda meet with community development about that.
Okay,
would love
That
to be a
possibility
part of
see,
that.
like, would it be something that could be permitted
Yeah.
to happen?
and then
Fine,
also
I could
with.
go ask Gary.
With venues, are there things that are off limits for us to use?
I was gonna ask that, yeah.
Yeah,
What's your venue thought?
It's called Covale. It's a relatively recent, tap room and like event center that opened up. It's upstairs in Gourmet. It's in Gourmet
Oh,
out
yeah,
and about
we have
midway
that
through.
upstairs.
Yeah.
It would just depend on the structure of it, so. So for example, we do have events at Old City Hall, we own the buildings, we do have their like. You know, obviously doesn't pay for any alcohol, but on those events like the.
Someone
Somebody
sponsors,
can go down to the bar on their own and.
can someone, but someone can sponsor or,
And also party
provide.
could sponsor that, we have to
Yeah,
work on
yeah.
exactly how that works out, but, I would suggest, look at the. Total universe of your locations for it,
yeah,
and then we can analyze each one. And figure out
Okay.
if any that are,
so maybe
Look
we
at
can
that.
give you like an idea list of venues and you can say yes, no, this could work or,
Yeah,
okay,
that works. Yeah.
okay.
cause also like for us, we have to check, okay, are they doing the business license? Or, you know, there's certain requirements. we have to
Oh, okay.
check, make sure. Yeah,
And then for like a ballpark date, this is like end of 26.
Mhm.
I'm assuming.
Fall of 26
Yeah.
gives a full year and some change to doing it.
See in the Miller Barn. My family knew them really well.
I knew
learned
you
all
would
that.
like that one.
But interesting about scary. I'll talk to you
Everyone
about it.
everyone wants
I
to
know.
use
So,
that.
That's why I
I'll
talked
just
to
to
you. That's why I talked to you
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it, so, okay. So we're thinking, yeah, fall of 2026 for that.
I think a good time to weathers.
Uh,
Story.
The updating the arts and culture strategic plan. I don't know if there's any update there or just maybe reviewing something. That would be Ruben,
It's mostly
Mindy and,
Porter's been the one kind of pushing that forward
okay,
the most. So I think he's
we'll
already
wait for his
yeah,
report back.
I think so. Because he has the actual document and Commissioner Zamora also too. They both of them had been pushing that forward pretty good. I think Commissioner Zamora had done, isn't she like an editor or she has like a background in that, so she's like definitely in
Wanted
charge
to
on
do
that.
it.
Yeah. So
Then we'll wait for both of them to hear that.
Yeah.
So the next one was public art resource document. So, kind of creating this was something that we had talked about in our
Yeah,
public art
yeah,
committee,
public art Yeah.
and I know that there's pieces, this almost feels very similar to like updating this arts and culture
Right.
strategic plan because we have so many pieces or components that could work with this type of a document, but just needs to be updated. A list of local artists that are muralists, sculptors, anyone that's does stuff with lighting. I mean, there could be other things. Because the list we had is like
Yeah.
super old.
mhm.
But we also, I think what's important is documenting where all the public art is and what it is. So that it kind of helps, if someone's coming in, a developer,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, we want to do this. And then it's like, oh, well, that already exists, but somewhere else, does it make sense to duplicate
Map.
that type of
Map.
idea? Or, maybe they might just get an overview of what we already have, and then they also that can help spark some ideas. So I think we have some components of that, but it looks like we don't have any subcommittee.
yeah, I think we've
Yeah.
added the last, one of our meetings after the work plan was done, but no committee was assigned.
Yeah, signed.
And we haven't, so
It's-
what,
Kind of like, is it something that we can
it doesn't have.
work on together?
Yeah.
So any of these items can be worked on. Here
Here,
in the meeting
yeah,
as well.
okay,
It doesn't
yeah.
have to be a subcommittee,
Yeah.
the subcommittee are for things that are a lot more labor intensive.
Yeah, this one, it's something like I can start gathering. I have like binders from Public Art Committee in the past, and Susan that used to work here, she's at the museum.
Susan Voss.
Yeah, she has a lot of
Yeah.
stuff regarding all that stuff too. She did a catalog of all of the artwork that the city
Yeah, remember
owns
that, and we were gonna get that, we
Mhm,
were gonna
and-
get that identified.
and
Yeah,
combine it
then,
with our stuff.
then COVID happened.
Yeah. So we have some things
Yep,
that were
we were
already
starting to work on it.
kind of in the works. So maybe I'll just bring that back and we can start just plugging away at it. I mean, if it's a 2-year, that might be a 2-year project.
And who was
For
it that
sure.
worked here? Because San Juan Batista has theirs all identified. Who was it worked here and then she left? Remember, and she was one of our examples. She was in one of the main people in the administration. But theirs is all identified in San Juan Batista. Yeah, and that's what we were gonna do.
Our theme, our former.
That's what we were gonna do.
Like,
Yeah, Yeah.
Shauna.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and gave us yeah, in the public art committee. Yeah. I remember that. It was sort of encouraging. Yeah, to get.
So this will
get
just
it
be
done.
something we work on then all
Yeah.
together, kind of here.
Yeah.
It can just be
Yeah.
a standing item that
Yeah.
maybe we just
That
revisit.
That was basically why we added it, just to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to have something that kind of can. Everyone can give their ideas too, like, I think that that's the other part about this is, we just want to give ideas to the developers,
Mhm.
right?
For, I think the last time I had also asked if we could at some point, get like, I don't know if it's a presentation or at least a document that shows kind of like what the actual verbiage is, or like that, what do developers get
Right. When-
currently, what's the proper condition, the wording, all of that, so we know kind of.
Or is there a standard? Is there a standard for the number of, like, how, if it's housing, if it's, a certain number of condos, or I'm not sure
Yeah,
how it
basically,
is.
what are the regulations?
And if
A
there's
lot of that
way to-
building has changed too.
Yeah.
Now what's going up is a lot different from when all this got created.
Mhm.
Space, there's not much space anymore for those, remember? Now it's just all this huge building, yeah. Interesting.
And is there a listing of, like, historically, what has gone up that is considered public art? From developers?
We
If
Oh,
the
well, the-
planning
Yeah,
commission
yeah.
might
So
have
it's-
that,
It's, so our planning, division would do that.
yeah,
And so, as you may recall, so, Sharon, our director.
yeah, go.
Connects us with the proper person, so I'll focus on just find out who the proper planner is.
Yeah,
But
and
they'll-
that just might help us, just to understand. And our role is just sometimes just hearing and passing on recommendation to council for approval.
Mm.
So we're not making decisions, but if it could be where we see historically what has been done, what those things look like, then we can know how can we best help the developers kind of steer them in a way that also benefits our community best
Mhm.
when it comes to art. Okay, well, I think that's it then for our work plan update. Next would be item 8, Gilroy Art Related Community Event Updates. So,
I can see that.
yeah, go around the room.
Go ahead. I just follow what all the advertising. I go to all of them. You know,
Yeah,
there's all the time now.
Yeah, I've
It's
been seeing it
fascinating.
recently.
well, coming up,
mean,
I
there's so
guess
many.
this is kind of still arts related, it's music. So the Downtown Music
Yeah.
Series, Downtown Live, will be starting up again June 12th,
Okay.
and that will run
June 12th.
for 10 weeks.
Okay,
And it will be on Fifth Street.
Yeah.
So we won't be closing Monterey, so it'll just be Fifth to Eagleberry and utilizing Gourmet Alley. And this year, for the first time, we'll be incorporating different genres of music. So we'll have a couple of Latin nights, so a salsa night, and so just different music, which is great. So I think that's where like the cultural aspect can come in, and it'll be really fun to have something new.
good. So June 12th it starts.
June 12th
Yes,
starts. Yeah.
good. Looking forward to it. I love those. That goes sweet. Summer that way.
Yeah.
10 weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
And
And like that's gonna be concentrated there on Fifth Street
Yeah.
too.
yeah, it used to be
Yeah.
called Fifth Street Live, like some history
Yeah.
behind it.
Oh, nice.
A long time ago. But it outgrew that space, so I think it still has outgrown that space, but not enough to warrant closing Monterey.
Yeah,
And now with
Because
the-
it has to be extended closure, it can't be like just closed off halfway, you have to close all the way to where traffic can not get
And
trapped.
blocked, yeah, and not, and also blocked that they can't come in now. and kill you.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like,
No, that's why they have those white things now. Did you, we got that, was at the council meeting,
Yeah,
remember?
new barricades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
new barricades.
which are
I don't-
great. New
Yeah,
barricades
I
are
mean,
awesome.
that-
They're actually really
you- you
nice.
bet,
It's so
you bet.
professional.
Mhm.
So,
You bet.
and then Downtown Business Association just had the wine and art stroll.
Yeah.
So again, activating Gourmet Alley and having, vendors, artisan vendors and artists throughout. So, this year was one of the higher attended years, so it was a really good response. And I think just figuring out how we use the alley and make that like a really cool space. I
You did a
really
good
love
job.
that
You did a
space,
good
so I
job.
think,
It's neat.
I think it
It's
can
open
continue
door.
to grow
Open
and,
door.
yeah, and especially with the art part of it, I think that'll just get better and better, but, I also painted some fake doors on the broken building, in Gourmet Alley.
Oh, the one next to Cobell? Yeah,
Yes,
it's like
so
right
I
there.
haven't finished yet, but I did started three of them. Yeah, to help out the owner. So it does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if you have a chance, walk by that.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that. I didn't see that part, but I was down at that end and, you know, but I don't, did.
So you're
Yeah,
supposed to
just
not
what's
notice,
there.
and it's like nice, cause it's supposed
Yeah, it
to,
looks like,
it just
like a
fits
building.
right.
Yeah,
So it looks like
I
like
haven't seen it.
antique door, you know, big doors,
So,
and that's it for me.
Friday's third Friday art walk. I'll personally be doing a drink and draw at Lonely Oak Brewing Company. next
What was
to
that? I
Lonely-
sometimes I can't hear what you're saying.
Uh,
I
drink-
have very good hearing though.
It's a drink and draw.
Yeah,
at-
yeah.
At Lonely Oak Brewing Co.,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
thank you
which is
for- yeah.
next to Neon Exchange.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's this Friday.
This
This
Friday.
Friday is the next third Friday art walk. And so that happens, the next one will be June 20th after that. And the third Friday, yeah, so then the 18th of July. See if there's other stuff on.
Lonely Oak's that new place, right?
Mhm.
Just kind of opened recently. Yeah, I like that place.
Yeah, it's a near spot. We'll have a vinyl DJ and just art supplies and butcher paper covering the tables and just freestyle, nothing fancy, just hanging out.
It's hard to open a tap
I
room or
understand.
microbrew and have me not show up there at some point, so.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So,
So that's all I have. More recent, more. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Cool.
Oh, I guess in June, the usually Father's Day weekend. Oh, the 14th, June 14th is the Sparsa Car Show,
Like,
which has a bunch of
Yeah,
cool
it's
stuff
like that
happening
too.
at the. I think that's at Christmas
Christmas
Hill
Hill.
again. Yeah. So. That's it.
Sweet.
Y'all know anything?
I know. I have to look before I came in.
So I'll step away real quick for a thing, but kind of real time.
Yeah, that's right there.
Okay, is that it for community event updates?
Yeah, my
Mhm.
calendar. Right.
And then we have commission comments, anything else? No? Okay. Staff comments?
No staff comments.
Okay. Future agenda item requests. Any requests for future agenda items? I know I was being really not like pushy, but kind of about the artistic elements for this. I know it's far away, but it doesn't matter. We need them to put those in there because those things go in there from the start.
Yeah.
Like I've met with our city works department, and if it isn't in there from the beginning, it's never going in unless you fund it yourself.
Yeah.
So we have to push
Yeah.
at this next meeting
Yeah.
for that company to include in their plan specifically arts related things.
Yeah. It's true.
And it has to be in there.
Mhm.
And there has
When you
to
say
be
arts related things.
like
what are you
public
speaking?
art. I'm saying public art within this space.
a venue for is what you really.
No,
say.
just public art, like if there's a sculpture garden or if there's
Mural or something.
murals
I
or
understand that,
sculptures in
It'd be
these
something to address. if this is
4,
on the
5,
20th.
6,
On the
places.
20th, it'd be good to ask that
But
Yeah.
it has
Yeah.
to be included in there, what,
Yeah.
and as
and ask how they do
an
that.
item.
Ask how they do
Yeah.
that, if they do it and how they do it. when-
Because if they're talking about, I mean, there is gonna be a landscape architect or whatever, and there's
Yeah,
gonna be
and they're
money
good
for
at it. They're
landscape,
good
there's
at
gonna be money for lighting, there's gonna be, so we need money for public art within that space.
Okay.
And there to be a budget, that to be an item that is
Yeah.
covered.
Be good to be.
When they're doing- and I-
20th.
And for me, that's a big deal
On the
because
20th.
if it doesn't go in, it won't be, it
Yeah.
will not be included and it'll be an afterthought. That then we're responsible for trying to raise money for, but it needs to be included in their plan.
So do we come up with some kind of formal message to suggest?
And I would
was-
say-
Go ahead.
Yeah,
No, the meeting is the 20th.
Yeah,
Show up there and get I mean, then go from there and you can ask them.
that might be
How-
something that we can formally, as the Arts and
And
Culture
ask them, and ask
Commission,
them.
um,
Cause I have stuff to ask about the aquatics too.
if we can
And they will
request.
answer the
yeah.
best they can, and then you move from there.
It might be a formal request
yeah.
to council, and it might not be till next year, like they're
Exactly.
talking.
yeah.
But
how they
we
do
have
that.
to know about it now
And
and
how to
what
do it.
that,
Yeah,
the proper protocol for it.
Say at least before their budget starts coming together.
Oh,
We
yeah,
want-
they will not- they
before
will-
that.
But they have to think about it before they even start
Yeah,
going to the drawing board of, okay,
ask
this
this.
is. That has to be a component in there, even if it's the smallest little, like. Bullet point after something else, it has to still be included.
Yeah.
And like I said, artistic elements, if you're doing a series of lights that runs along this corridor, maybe they can be artistic where it is like. The lighting is something, an LED changing, or it's like a sculpture and something, I don't know,
Yeah.
just different elements that are artistic for your everyday things.
We could probably focus in on the paseo too. Seems like they keep talking about that. So
Is that this direct line
Right.
that
to
goes
the,
to the
yes.
stage, yeah.
Yes.
okay,
Mhm.
and that could be where the
Like
sculpture
all in the grassy area, wherever they're doing. You can
stuff
add
can
stuff.
go, or
Yeah.
something that's interactive. I mean, we're talking, if we're talking 10 years down the line plus.
Yeah,
I mean, by that time, what does technology look like?
Yeah.
What is, but
what will art be?
what will art be?
Because I'm learning a lot about art. People copy a lot from now technology.
Mhm.
yeah.
You didn't even have that access. You wonder, how did they do that? I mean, I'm not making that up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good way. I mean, they learn art that way now,
Yeah,
you know?
So I think that this project could be something that if we put in there, like we want to make sure that public art is included in this plan,
Yeah.
period.
yeah.
Or how with this ELS, they're a fascinating company.
Yeah,
They've
like-
done brilliant things. They're out of Berkeley. And they would have an idea how that gets, but that,
Gets
but I would like to do it. Not that I wouldn't do it other ways, but that's the thing on the meeting. That's
Yeah,
the kind of-
going
they do it
there and
as the
meeting
open
them
door,
and
but they've
talking
done
to them.
brilliant plans.
Yeah,
And it's not just so that there's obviously there are avenues how you do that.
okay.
Yes, my thought on it.
I can be at the 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
one.
well, and ask. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
fine.
I'm just as,
Yeah, okay.
as a team, yeah. Just as the beginning of a conversation and they'll have it, yeah,
As long as we don't have more than 3 people, we can talk about that with them,
okay, yeah. oh,
because
yeah.
it could
Well,
potentially
and
be
if
an
if there are
item.
more than 3, then I'll just come and go at the 6. I mean,
That's what I'm thinking. We go to the 9 and the 6.
No,
and
no,
we'll
but
have a
I'm just
couple
saying,
more.
I don't want to be,
No, we
but
might, that
but I
might
like
be
this
good.
company.
Yeah,
They've done
okay.
brilliant things.
They're like, weren't you guys at the 9 o'clock? No, that's.
No, that was someone else.
That was
And
somebody
that's
else.
where architecture in California started, was at Berkeley. You bet. And they would go to to Paris to study and then come back and say, well, how do we do it in San Francisco? But that didn't mean they had to do it like that, but architecture, yeah,
My 5 o'clock is open, so I'll go to the 6.
yeah.
Okay, well,
All right.
we are gonna adjourn this meeting then at 7:32 PM.
Nice.
And the next meeting is June 10th.
Wow, it's gonna be here
So-
before we know it.
I
I'm gonna
know.
write down the, not that. I
So
need
thank
to
you
write.
guys for your
Thank
time.
you.
And
Exciting.
we're doing so good with our meetings now.
Yeah,
I
no,
like,
yeah, it's kind
The
of.
one meeting you were gone is when we did like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
That was
well,
nice.
it's certain-
Okay.
certain-
I know.
certain things, yeah.
Cause we were trying to finalize the work plan stuff and
June 10th, right?
yeah.
I know, I was like.